Good morning. Happy Wednesday. So, this isn't really like legal, it's kind of quasi legal. It's more political, I guess. It's a bit of a rant. So, I guess we're going to get the Epstein files, right? Everybody wanted the Epstein file. I think the least partisan issue ever in American politics has been wanting to know who the PDF files are who are running our country, because I'm pretty sure that just about everybody who's anybody in politics in Washington has some sort of dirt. And I'm pretty sure that various, let's say, political interest groups, foreign or domestic, have that dirt and use that dirt. But anyway, Thomas Massey's push to get the Epstein files released apparently is going to go through. I guess there's been a single congressman voted against it, and I guess there's unanimous consent in the Senate. Great. It's going to go to Trump's desk, and he's allegedly going to sign it. Great. But what I don't see anybody commenting on is that it is going to release all the non-classified Epstein documents. Non-classified. So all the classified documents are going to stay hidden, outside of the scrutiny of the American people. No threat to the politicians or the political interest groups, both foreign and domestic. And we've talked in the past. I had an ongoing argument with Blue Bacon about the vital military installation. I broke it down as to what exactly it means. There's a executive order on it, and in going through all of that, I learned that it is the executive branch who decides what is or isn't classified. And the president has parceled that power out to the various heads of departments, etc., and to their underlings who they decide to give that power to. So there is a bill that's going to be passed ordering the Department of Justice, who can determine what is and isn't classified, to release the Epstein documents. And so what are they going to do? I mean, I hate to be the negative Nancy in the room, but what are they going to do? They're going to classify all the documents that are, going to be harmful to the politicians that they favor. They're going to probably release the ones that are not harmful to the politicians they favor. And you're going to never know about the political interest groups, both foreign and domestic, that are in control. You're never going to see what the CIA was doing, or what MI6 was doing, or what Mossad was doing, or how they were using Epstein, etc. You're never going to see that, because that's going to be classified. I mean, this is just my negative Nancy. I mean, I hope to be wrong. I wish I was wrong. I don't want to be right about any of this stuff. But I still have yet to see anything to dissuade me from my very nuanced political position that the government hates you and wants you dead. Sorry. I was listening to Fuentes. Everybody has to qualify Fuentes with, he has some disgusting opinions. I won't do that. That doesn't mean I agree with all his positions, and it doesn't mean I disagree with all of his positions. I have my own set of political opinions, and I listen to other people's, and I've modified my political opinions based on what I've heard from other people when it makes sense. And when I hear good arguments against my political positions, why then I rethink my political positions, because in my politics, just as in my practice of law, I'm not particularly biased, at least when I'm giving legal opinions. I try to look at things from a neutral stance, because you get a better understanding of your position if you look at things from a neutral stance. So there are some things that I agree with Jimmy Dore on. There are some things I agree with Fuentes on. Everybody in between. There's some things I agree on with them on it. So there's some things I disagree with them on it. And like, this is an entirely aside, but like my political life, I've run the gamut. I have literally run the gamut. I was raised in a Protestant, Rush Limbaugh listening, vote Republican no matter what house. I went to college. I went to a liberal college, University of California, Davis. And while I was there, my politics shifted. And I was pretty liberal for quite a while. And then I went to libertarian because I'm like, well, now I see that they're wrong and they're wrong. And maybe libertarian is it. And libertarian is pretty much garbage. So I have my own political opinions, right? But I'm not going to disavow Fuentes. I mean, I haven't seen anything that makes me want to disavow him. He hasn't mass murdered anybody. He has political opinions that some of them I agree with, some of them I disagree with. Why? I don't understand. Like, every time I watch a show, there are all people like, oh, and he has some disgusting opinions. And you're like, so do you, dude. So do you. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, just, instead of qualifying it all the time, just fucking, like, say, here's where I agree with, here's where I disagree with, and here's why. It's pretty simple. But anyway, Fuentes has this idea that he's going to, what the Groypers, whatever the fuck those are, need to do is they need to get people elected. Like, he was talking about like getting 5, congressmen elected. And that way, if the parties are basically split in Congress, then those 5 Congress people that are Groypers they can be the leverage. They can play both sides to get something more of what they want. And that sounds good on paper. But I've been watching politics for a long time. And there have been waves of right-wing, and I don't use that as pejorative. I mean, I'm just differentiating them from being necessarily Republican and being on the right. I mean, I think there's a difference between those. I don't particularly think Republicans are conservative I don't think they're conservative at all. I mean, maybe under your definition of conservative they are, but under my definition of conservative, what are they conserving? Essentially, as far as I could tell, the only thing that is basically required to be a Republican is that you support Israel unconditionally. I mean, that's conservatism. I don't particularly see it that way, but whatever. But I have seen waves of right-wing congressmen, etc., get elected. In fact, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was a MAGA. She was riding the wave of MAGA into office. She went there to make changes. Now, she's on the right side of the Epstein disclosure, sure, but like, she's been a pretty party line gal. And so what I've seen with all these various waves of we're going to go in there and we're going to reform the government and we're going to undo all of these stupid liberal, these demon rats. We're going to undo all this stuff. They go there and like immediately they're corrupted. And we've seen it on the left too. Like who's or what's it? The bartender gal used to be hot, but she's really chunking up. Ocasio-Cortez. Something Ocasio-Cortez. Anyway, like, she gets there, and Cenk Uygur was like, you were supposed to force the vote, all these force the vote, like, so on both sides, left and right, they go to Washington, immediately corrupted. Ocasio-Cortez goes to Washington broke, immediately a millionaire. It's amazing. And I'm not picking her out. Like, this is what happens to all politicians. Literally all politicians. They're all bought and paid for. And not by you. If you're watching this show, you don't make enough money to buy a politician, let alone buy Congress. I mean, our Congress is owned by political groups, both foreign and domestic, it's bought and paid for. Like, so, I hate to be a negative Nancy on Fuentes' idea of getting a group of people who are America first into Congress that can force the vote between the Republicans and Democrats. Because, like, how many times has that been tried? I know of at least one on the Democrat side, and I could think of at least 3 on the Republican side, or at least one on the left wing side and at least 3 on the right wing side. At least. It's not going to, like, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but democracies and republics are like fundamentally weak. They're just fundamentally weak because people are stupid. Think about how stupid the average American is. And remember that half of America is stupider than that, right? It's in stupid people and uninformed voters and people who just don't care are easily persuaded. They're easily manipulated. Think about all the people who you hate that that they just go in there and whatever side they're on, they just check the box. Lifelong Democrat. Voted Democrat every time, all the time. Vote blue no matter who. Vote red or you'll be dead, or whatever the saying is for the one on the right. But I know, my parents were lifelong Republicans. They voted Republican every time, all the time. Didn't matter. Didn't matter how bad the candidate was. Didn't matter what the candidates were telling them. Didn't matter the track record of the candidates. They went in there on X, Y, and Z, and they didn't do shit. Oh, but it was the other side that stopped them. And every side, both sides, they all blame the other side. The Republicans can't get their agendas done. They control I think right now they control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And they have a majority in the Supreme Court, and they can't get shit done. Shocking, I know. Happens every time, all the time. Same thing when the Democrats are in control. They get more stuff done. I mean, they're a little bit more... Well, they get more stuff done. Not necessarily what the people voted to get them to do, but they get more stuff done. I mean, how long has single-payer healthcare been a thing that the Democrats have been promising? How long has that been a thing? Medicare for all. How long has that been a thing? How long has that been a thing? And it's always the Republicans who are stopping them from doing it. Crazy, I know. I just, again, I hate to be a negative Nancy, but I just don't, I don't see a political solution. I just don't see it. You're not in control, and I'm not in control. The people aren't in control of who runs for these political positions. These people are selected. You get a false binary. You get to vote for, in the primary, you may get to vote between 5 or 6 selected candidates, but 1 or 2 of them have all the backing, have all the money. At the actual elections, the general elections, you get to pick between red or blue. Congratulations, You don't actually, but you didn't get to, you get to pick who you vote for from the candidates that are pre-selected for you to vote for, if that makes sense. It's not an actual choice. It's not in theory, it's an actual choice, but in reality, it's not an actual choice. Republics fail. Democracies fail. They don't last long. The lasting empires have all been, the ones that have lasted 1,000 years plus. I mean, they're all empires. They're all kingdoms and empires. And then, the Republic or the Roman Empire, big, thrived, long time. Next thing you know, it's a republic, and then it's downhill from there. Why? Because people vote their self-interest, not the national interest. Because uneducated people make uneducated votes. Because everybody has something to gain by voting to get more gimmies to them instead of sacrificing. Everybody votes their own self-interest instead of the self-interest of the group. Anyway, the last thing I want to discuss is the GDP. And I always hear people talking about the GDP like it's some sort of a magic thing. Oh, GDP go up. We need more GDP. We need to improve our GDP. We need to do this to make more GDP. And what the fuck is GDP? I understand the concept, gross domestic product. But it doesn't measure the gross domestic product. I mean, it measures shit. It really measures shit. It's just a completely asinine indicator of the health of a country. You got to remember that right now, Russia basically single-handedly is fighting the Ukraine, the EU, the UK, and the US. You're like, well, not actual troops on the ground, sure, but it's their production capacities versus basically the entire West's production capacities. And the entire West put together has a massive GDP lead over Russia. Massive. It's not even comparable. And yet, Russia is cranking out way more bombs, way more tanks, way more planes, way more artillery rounds, way more small arms and ammunition, way more drones, way more missiles, way more. So you got to think to yourself, like, why? Start wondering why. Putin bad, great, whatever. Like, I don't fucking care. But Russia right now is producing way more than the entire West combined, despite the best efforts. The EU is like 100% on board, maybe with the exception of Orban and whoever the leader of Serbia is. I forget his name. The UK, 100% on board. They've depleted their stockpiles. They're sending everything they fucking got. I think the UK is sending the last of its self-propelled artillery pieces to the UK or to Ukraine. The US depleted its stocks. You heard them say, like, we can't send any more. Like, Rubio was like, yeah, we send anti-aircraft systems, we send Patriot systems, and they're gone in 2 weeks. They're destroyed in 2 weeks. We can't keep up. You don't hear that about Russia. I know that our news media only reports the Ukrainian side of things, but if you watch like international kinds of stuff where they actually go through and look at the numbers, if you look at like nonpartisan people who are like, these are just the fucking numbers, you could tell. And it's a war. I don't care that Russia called it a special military operation. It's a fucking war. Russia has like 500,000 people fighting. At one point in time, the Ukrainian army had over 1 million people in it. It's got a lot less now, but yeah, it's the Russians who are losing all the manpower. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. But what is, like anytime a politician is telling people about the GDP needs to go up. Like, they're fucking lying to you, dude. They're lying to you. The GDP has gone up like every year for fucking ever in the US. And has your standard of living gotten better? Are you as able to buy a home as your parents were, as your grandparents were? Has your salary, has your income kept up with inflation? Like the majority of Americans right now are buying groceries on credit. Not the majority, but there's a statistically significant number of Americans who can't even afford on their incomes to pay for groceries. They're going into debt to buy groceries. Like, that should be concerning to you, but GDP's gone up. GDP went up last year. GDP's going to go up this year. I guarantee it. We lose a bunch of jobs, but whatever. I saw a cartoon, comic, meme, something, whatever you want to call it. I think it was Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer, both despicable human beings. And they're walking down a country road. And Lindsey Graham points to a cow patty. For those of you who don't live in the country, cow patty is cow poop. He points to a cow patty and he says, Chuck, I'll pay you $20,000 to eat that cow patty. Chuck says, well, I don't want to eat a cow patty, but $20,000 is $20,000, and he eats the cow patty. And then Chuck points to a cow patty and says, Lindsey, I'll pay you $20,000 to eat that cow patty. And Lindsey Graham says, $20,000, $20,000, eats the cow patty, right? And then Lindsey says, Chuck, my tummy doesn't feel that good. I don't think we should have eaten those cow patties. And Chuck says, you know what, Lindsey? Maybe we shouldn't have, but just be happy because we increased the GDP by $40,000. And that's the way it works, kids. That's the way it works. Anytime anybody's telling you about GDP, they're fucking lying to your face. GDP is a shit metric. It doesn't mean that the country is healthy. It doesn't mean that the country is producing anything. It doesn't mean that the country can maintain a military and fight a war. I mean, yeah, great. We can blow up brown people in various foreign countries, and we can occupy them for a while. But like, I mean, how did it work out for us in Afghanistan? Goat herders with AKs won in Afghanistan, and I don't care why they did. We weren't able to drive them out. We weren't able to defeat them. For all the might of the U.S. military, goat herders in Afghanistan with AKs managed to beat us. And we can't keep up with Russia on production, even with the UK and the EU. So, GDP can suck my... Well, anyway, family friendly. Trying to be. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Sorry about the long rant. I mean, if you don't watch it, that's fine. If you did watch it, thanks for watching. Have a great day.